As the curtain is drawn on 2024, it's that time of year when people are reviewing their resolutions and certainly making new ones. The question is, have you achieved your 2024 resolutions? If not, what were the reasons? I'm now joined by a panel including psychologist Benedict Mhlongo, dietitian Mbali Mapholi, and gym instructor Otis Goredema to give us tips on how to ensure that you fulfill your 2025 resolutions. Ladies and gentlemen, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us on New Year's Eve. Dr. Benedict, allow me to start off with you. Let's talk about resolutions and the fascination with it. What is the sort of mental process that people are going through when they're coming up with resolutions, particularly ahead of the start of a new year?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and good afternoon to the listeners. I think those is a very important one. I think over time with society, a lot of the times people have actually slowing down when it comes to resolutions as well. I think for me, the fundamental importance of a resolution is that it keeps you grounded. A lot of the times people need what we call structure. So if you've got a resolution, you know that you only have yourself to account. So it's important to have them like at the start of for instance, the start of the year. It's like starting gym. My fellow panelists will also comment on that. It's very important and healthy to start it off like when the week actually starts.
Now, part of this process, or part of our observation, is that everybody's super keen when the year starts, but 60 days and 90 days down the line, all this enthusiasm seems to fade away. What is the cause of that?
It's almost like when a solitude, like for instance, solitude brings about what we call power. So when you're over alone, you're able to actually think of certain things, but also, resolutions are made alone. Resolutions are individual goals. So therefore, you don't have anybody outside to account for. So it makes it difficult for you then to actually maintain and keep up to them. So more often than times people will be like, but it's fine, it's outdated, and I made them alone. So therefore, I have nobody to actually account for. So those are the most fundamental things that make them, you actually go down and not be very much committed to them. It's the fact that we make them individually so.
Now, Otis, you've been in the business some 30-odd years, right? So obviously
you've had... just revealing my age there, but carry on.
Yeah, you've had multiple people come to you, I'm sure, at the start of each year to say that these are the goals that they would like to achieve. What are some of those goals? And as a percentage, can you give us an idea, a number of some of the people that fall at the wayside, and from your own experience, why?
Well, I think, the other panelists just nicely said, you need focus, and you also need goals. For example, people fall by the wayside because sometimes people end up biting a lot more than they can chew. It's like, I know I'm going to offend the dietitian there. It's like when people buy a sack of sugar, it's finished with people using small teaspoons to make tea. No one uses a shovel. So small goals, and at the end of the month or etc., the sack is finished. So sometimes falling by the wayside is maybe having too high expectations. So my belief is perhaps, small goals, small achievements day by day, and they generally equate to big results. In terms of percentage, I think I would definitely, and maybe, it varies from country to country, but with the guys that I start off every year, I'll lose about 40% by March.
So 40% is quite a sizable number. Now, I know the psychologist mentioned a few moments ago that resolutions are largely an individual decision. Otis, how much of keeping those individuals that come to you in the gym is courtesy of the work that you put in? And I suppose the question is, whilst I might come as an individual to say I would like to achieve a certain level of fitness by the end of the year, what role do you play in ensuring that I stick to my guns or I stick to those goals?
Well, I think borrowing from probably the psychologist there, I think as an instructor, you also play a bit of psychology there because, people are not coming from a blueprint. People are different. And you've got to obviously see the personality of the person and make sure that you encourage them in such a way that, it becomes intrinsic and it's coming from from themselves. So, it varies from person to person, and you have to really study your client and see because goals are different. And the part that I play as a personal trainer or instructor, exercise is the same everywhere. But what varies is, how I'm capable of reading that person and making sure that they're going to like what they're doing, they see the results, they're encouraged. And once again, small goals, and then it becomes an intrinsic. It comes from themselves. Pretty much, that's what I would say.
Mbali, I appreciate your type. Now, there's a saying that says that 80% of a person's fitness is in the fridge or in the kitchen.
Yeah.
How much of this is true?
Very much true, because most of what we eat and drink sort of shapes our nourishment, shapes how much nutrition we have, the vitamins, minerals, proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, and energy. And overall, then that will obviously determine if you are, let's say, pursuing weight loss, the total amount of calories that you end up consuming in a day, in a week, in a month, will essentially then sort of contribute to how your body, the actual body weight will look like. So it is a lot of sort of weight loss or health. If maybe your goal is health, is centered around what people eat and drink, and hence they say that it is in the fridge. They say abs are made in the kitchen. Don't necessarily believe in that, because I think it's a much more of a complicated concept, the whole abs concept. But I do believe when it comes to health that basically what we eat and drink on every single day contributes into how we feel, like fueling our day, but also just productivity, feeling good, our gut health, our heart health, and so forth. Yeah.
Mbali, I want to touch on a concept around a cheat day, which I'm sure Otis will speak to in a moment. But very often, you adhere to the strictest of diets for 5 or 6 days a week, and there's that one day where you then pick up a burger or you have a pizza. But the problem is, well, certainly according to conception, is that that burger is then going to take you 2 days or 3 or 4 hours in the gym to work off. Is a cheat day a good thing?
I mean, not necessarily. I think calories are misunderstood, that you have to, if you eat X amount of calories, then you have to burn that X amount of calories in the gym. I think looking into how the human body operates, it's much more complex than that. I think if the cheat day allows a person to, if they are maybe a person that consumes a lot of takeouts, a lot of high or ultra processed foods, and a cheat day, if they commit to one cheat day a week, and if that helps them sort of keep in check and have a structure and use the other days to prioritize home cooked meals, then for sure they can do that. But if a cheat day is fueled by fear of eating, by disordered eating, by diet culture, I have a little bit of a problem with that, because our society, we fear eating. And as such, we start labeling things like cheat day, like clean eating, which in a sense, in a long run, they affect how we view food. So yes and no, cheat day is okay if it's done in a sense that it's just you trying to say, you know what, I want to eat more veggies, I want to eat more fruits, I want to eat more home cooked meals. As such, I'm going to allow myself to have a burger or pizza once a week. That's fine. But if it's now fueled by, oh, now that I've eaten this burger, I need to then gym 4 times a day or 2 times a day to burn it off, that's where it gets a little bit distorted. And I think adults are struggling with that a bit of disordered, and not full-on eating disorders, but just this view of food. And we fear food because of those things and trends around eating and calories and burning off calories as well.
Benedict, let's focus on coming up with these goals. So you've created these goals, or you've come up with various ideas or resolutions on what one is looking to achieve in 2025. What are the key factors in ensuring some form of adherence, or ensuring that you're able to keep these goals? I mean, is it about having an accountability partner, somebody who's continually encouraging you throughout that process? How do you go from, here are the goals or resolutions that I've made, to, hey guys, you know what, it's the eve of 2026 and I've achieved 8 out of 10 of the resolutions that I came up with?
I mean, that's a very important question you're asking there, Hugo. I think for me, most importantly is accountability, having an accountable partner who will then actually assist you in terms of actually viewing who that will actually assist. So it's very important to actually get that particular person that you can actually ascribe to, for instance, being your partner, being a friend, or anybody for that matter. But also what I then recommend is actually reflection. I mean, having that alone time or me time is very key. So that solitude in this particular case is very important. That builds about what we call intrinsic motivation as well. I mean, Mbali touched on a very important topic also here that we have in psychology that we refer to, what we think, how we feel, influence how we actually then behave. So behaviors around certain types of food, behaviors around how we view certain things and how we eat definitely is very linked to how we think about ourselves in terms of self-image as well. So it's very important to actually have that a particular partner or even speak about your goals as well. It's very important to actually be quite conversational around what is it that you want to achieve in life. That for me is quite key, but also Otis can tap into that in terms of having that particular partner. So him being a fitness instructor, a person who assists in fitness, and then I can know that whenever I see Otis, even his call, even his, messages, I then actually know that, oh, shucks, I need to actually go to the gym. So I then become accountable to myself and to my body as well. I then actually build a structure. So there's nothing more important than actually attaining a goal than having structure, knowing very well that this is where it starts, this is where it ends, and also just rewarding yourself. It could come, Mbali, in a form of a cheat day, or it could come in a form of just you having to sit down and just, rewarding yourself, whether it's be it food or be it actually not gymming as quite often as you would. Those things are very key in keeping, longevity of gym as well.
Now, Otis, conversations around working out is stuff that we throw around for those of us that have been going to the gym for some time. But what about the individual who's never been in the gym, who's finally decided that, okay, 2025 is the year where I want to get in the gym, I want to be in better shape, I want to be able to walk, run, feel better. What sort of advice or structure would you recommend for such an individual?
I think it goes back to exactly what I was saying. You have to look at the individual, obviously understand their what they want to achieve. And my job here is more like an accountability person who you are accountable to. That's why, as personal trainers, I believe we play a kind of important role in that. The accountability is that, lifting a bicep curl is the same as you would lift it at home. But if you have to get up, jump into your car and meet Otis, and I've got those messages like my one colleague is saying here, you've got an accountability. So, it's all about kinetics, movement. Small goals, you start with a walk, you start with a brisk walk, you start with very, very careful movements, and in a shorter time than people think, you actually begin to enjoy the idea of training, and you feel there is maybe, I would normally say about the first 6 weeks where you're a little bit uncomfortable because you're going to feel those delayed onset of muscle pain. But as time goes, you actually and I'm believing that everyone here has been in the gym, there's a time now you're attending the gym and you actually feel like there's something left out in your day. So that goes what you're saying for someone who hasn't even been in the gym before to someone like me who's been training for almost 40 years. The feeling is the same, where you tell yourself, you know what, I've had a break for 3 weeks and this is what I'm going to do. Let me start slowly, because obviously, even for me, who is kind of experienced, I can't jump straight into it, especially at my ripe age of 20.
Buddy, as we wrap up the conversation, there is a saying that eating good is expensive. Is that correct? I mean, how do you eat nutritiously? How do you eat the right sort of food, without breaking the bank?
The biggest thing when it comes to eating healthy and without breaking the bank is understanding nutrients. I'm going to give an example. If you are pursuing foods that are high in iron, for example, or like good sources of iron, we've got your ox liver or chicken livers, but it can go as sort of expensive as a sirloin steak or a ribeye. So the concept is getting a nutrient that you're looking for and understanding that there's a variety of different food sources for that that are high in that specific nutrient. If we look at food like that, then we start realizing that eating healthy doesn't have to be expensive. Of course, what makes it expensive, I blame it a lot on trends. It's people sort of adopting foods from different regions and then thinking that they will sort of work in the region that they are in. But the truth is, the foods that are present in your region are suitable for you, and they've got the nutrients that you need for that region. And the foods that you see in other regions, when you consume them and they're not from local, like they're not local produce, for example, they will be more expensive. The issue of, for example, spinach and kale. Spinach may be readily available in South Africa, but oftentimes maybe kale is not readily available. That's why there will be a price difference. With spinach is easily, you can grab it on the street vendors and it's quite affordable. But then on certain seasons, it's difficult to find both spinach and kale. So what then do we go to? We go to the next available food item for that season. So the three biggest things when it comes to making sure eating healthy is not expensive is eating foods that are local, eating foods that are easily accessible, but also eating what's in season. If we do those three main things, then eating healthy does not have to be expensive. And I think lastly, quickly, it's reducing food waste. If we pre-plan our meals and we make sure we don't cook excessively, I know we love cooking because we never know when a guest is gonna come, but if we store our food properly and avoid food waste, again, that contributes a lot in making sure that eating healthy does not become expensive.
Big thank you to my three panelists, Mbali Mapholi speaking to us from Johannesburg, and she's a dietitian, Benedict Mhlongo, psychologist in KZN, and Otis Goredema speaking to us from Harare. He's a gym instructor. Appreciate your time and wish you all a fabulous 2025.